Hey, thanks so much for watching again. And today we get to talk more in Earth and space sciences. We're going to talk about our dynamic Earth. We'll talk about things like volcanoes and earthquakes and weathering, things that affect our great Earth. So thanks for joining, and always remember, science rocks.
All right, get out that science notebook. Let's take notes and draw pictures. So copy down these 23 vocab words. Remember, they go in ABC order like this. And just come back later and create your own definition of these words. Let's make it make sense to you. So use your own words and draw pictures. So go ahead and pause this if you need to finish writing down the vocab words. So, over the course of Earth's history, its surface has changed constantly. Okay? An earthquake is the sudden moving and shaking of a part of Earth's crust at a fault line or a crack in the crust. And we've felt these recently in Oklahoma. So, earthquakes can change the surface of the earth very quickly as rocks on both sides of a fault line suddenly move. Okay, and then you have erosion. Erosion is the carrying away of soil and rock by flowing water, all right, by glaciers or even wind. So, as water moves down a river, the water flows less quickly and sediment begins to settle out of the water in a process called deposition. So, near the place where a river empties into the ocean, the water flow becomes very slow, and the slow moving water lays down the rest of the sediment it is carrying. Okay, and a new landform is created from that sediment. Okay, and that landform is called a delta. A delta. So the Mississippi River Delta is shown right here. All right. And although rocks seem hard and impossible to change, they do change over time. So, water, ice, wind, plants, and even animals can gradually wear away rock over time or cause large rocks or even bedrock to split into smaller pieces. These smaller rocks can then be broken down into even smaller rocks and sediment. Okay, that process that I just described is called weathering. All right. And then you have landslides. Landslides are a type of erosion in which large amounts of loose soil, rocks, and other materials fall or slide down due to gravity. So these events usually take place on steep slopes, such as the side of a mountain. Okay. So Earth's atmosphere prevents most small meteoroids from hitting the Earth's surface. However, asteroids and comets can collide with the Earth. Okay, so while these impacts are extremely rare, they can cause widespread catastrophes. So, large impacts throw large volumes of dust into the atmosphere, which can block out the sun and cause major climate change, right? So, sudden changes like this can result in mass extinctions of life forms on Earth. So, as one tectonic plate is pushed under another, magma escapes to the surface, forming a volcano, which we'll talk about next. So, a volcano is an opening in the Earth's crust, and the lava, steam, or ashes erupt or flow. Okay, and when a volcano erupts, the lava flows down and it actually hardens to form new land. All right, so different Earth processes, like we just talked about, and events occur over different lengths of time. Okay, some processes occur very quickly, very rapid, while others can take many years and are slow. So, Earth processes that occur over a very short length of time are measured in maybe seconds or minutes or hours or days, but it's still pretty short. Rapid Earth processes include earthquakes, landslides, asteroid or comet impacts, volcanic eruptions, and erosion. Okay, so those things can happen pretty quickly. And other Earth processes can take years and years. Some take just a few years, while others can take many years. So these slow Earth processes include erosion, weathering, deposition, mountain formation, and tectonic plate movements. Okay, so erosion appears on both lists, if you notice that here and here, because it can take place very rapidly or very slowly. So, an example of a rapid erosion is the washing away of maybe a coastline during a hurricane. Okay, that would be rapid. And an example of a slow erosion is maybe the gradual widening of a river's bank over many years. Okay, so Earth processes also occur over different spatial scales. So some processes affect large portions of Earth, while others occur at a microscopic level. So, for example, tectonic plate collisions can result in the formation of large mountain ranges that cover thousands of miles of the Earth's surface. And chemical reactions resulting in weathering, on the other hand, can take place in the microscopic realm and may not even be visible to the human eye. All right, let's talk about the history of plate tectonics. So, scientific evidence suggests that all 7 of the continents on Earth today used to be connected, forming a single land mass called Pangaea. The breakup of this supercontinent Pangaea and the movement of continents away from their placements within Pangaea was labeled continental drift. Think drift, they're drifting or moving away from each other. And seafloor spreading is the movement of the Earth's crust away from mid ocean ridges. So, during the process of seafloor spreading, hot rock rises up from the mantle and forces its way to the surface to form new sections of oceanic crust at the mid ocean ridge. So, the new crust pushes the older crust away from the mid ocean ridge, causing the sea floor to spread. So, this causes the ocean basin to widen and the continents to move away from each other. So, the theory of plate tectonics is a consolidated explanation for both the movements of continents over time, the continental drift, and sea floor spreading. Okay, so that's a theory of plate tectonics. Okay, it talks about continental drift and sea floor spreading. So the term plate refers to large, rigid blocks of Earth's lithosphere. So it's the crust plus the uppermost mantle. The crust plus the uppermost mantle is the lithosphere, which move and interact with one another. And tectonics comes from the Greek root to build. All right, so according to the theory of plate tectonics, the Earth's lithosphere is divided into a dozen or more large and small plates. So these plates are in constant motion because they are floating on a slowly flowing part of the upper mantle called the asthenosphere. Okay, plates consist of continental crust, oceanic crust, or a combination of both. So, when the plates move, the continents and ocean floor move as well. So, the rigid lithospheric plates move constantly but slowly, like we're talking centimeters per year. on top of the asthenosphere. So as the plates move around, they push into each other, move away from each other, or slide past each other along their boundaries. There are many possible forces driving these motions, including push-pull forces in the plates and convection deep within the earth. So let's look at the geological features of the ocean floor. There are many different features, as you can see. So some of these features are shown right here in this diagram. You can see the continental shelf up top is the shallow underwater extension of land surrounding a continent. And then this steep drop right here off at the edge of the continental shelf. So at this edge where it does the steep drop is the continental slope. And the continental rise right here, the continental rise connects the continental slope to the flat bottom of the ocean floor or the abyssal plain. All right, ocean trenches are the deepest part of the ocean basin and are deeper than any valley found on land. So, ocean trenches typically form at convergent plate boundaries where one plate is subducted underneath another. So, very deep trenches can form at convergent plate boundaries. As opposed to ocean trenches, mid-ocean ridges are underwater mountain systems created when two plates meet at a divergent plate boundary. So, as the two plates pull apart from each other at a mid-ocean ridge, hot magma flows from the mantle to fill the space in between. All right, so new oceanic crust is formed as the plates spread apart. Fracture zones are cracks or faults on the ocean floor that horizontally offset mid-ocean ridges. So you can see the mid-ocean ridges and the fracture zones are horizontally offsetting that. So fracture zones typically run perpendicular, right, to mid-ocean ridges. So perpendicular is like a right angle. So you have the fracture zone and the mid-ocean ridge. All right. And so this diagram shows two tectonic plates moving apart. Okay, so one plate over here on the left is dark blue. So you can see it's moving apart at different speeds. So the dark blue one is over here. So that's one plate all moving this way at different speeds. Notice the length of the arrows is representing this speed. And then on the right-hand side, this plate is lighter blue. Okay, so it would be this one over here moving this way, and you can notice the different speed arrows as well. So fracture zones are located at places that were once active underwater faults. So places where two different tectonic plates slid past each other in opposite directions. So over time, the plates moved away from each other and left these fracture zones behind as evidence. So the locations and properties of fracture zones strongly support the idea that the Earth's tectonic plates have been in continual motion. And over here you can see the locations of several fracture zones off the western coast of the United States, so over by California. All right, make sure to check out this cool video sometime. It's more about plate tectonics. Practice question time. All right, let's look at number 1. Several geologic periods ago, all of today's continents were part of a single continent known as Pangaea. So this map shows the positions of some of these continents. There is a significant amount of evidence that can be used to support the theory that Pangaea existed. So, which of the following describes how the map shows evidence for the existence of Pangea. So pause it, look over your answer choices, and see what you think. All right, so the map shows that the continent shapes fit together well. All right, look at them next to each other. The continent shapes fit together well, kind of like a puzzle. So the map also shows that the same fossils have been found on different continents. Okay, the same fossils have been found on different continents. Okay, so you can look at this animal here has been found on South America as well as Africa. And those used to be really close. And this animal here would be the same, found on South America and Africa, and they used to be very close. Okay, then you can look at this one as well as this one is found on all of those. Okay, so that suggested that continents were once closely connected. All right, so that's going to go with C. Number 2, what term best describes the geologic event taking place in this illustration? So pause it, look at your choices, and see what you think. So as tectonic plates move apart, a crack is formed. Okay, they're moving apart and a crack is formed. And magma, that's this red stuff here, flows out of the crack as lava, right? Which cools and hardens as it comes in contact with the ocean water. Okay, and it creates new sea floor. So this process is called sea floor spreading, and it occurs in areas called mid-ocean ridges. So we're going to go with A, sea floor spreading. All right, let's look at number 3. Fracture zones are cracks on the ocean floor that horizontally offset mid-ocean ridges. So fracture zones typically run, remember, perpendicular to mid-ocean ridges. And the diagram here shows 2 tectonic plates moving apart. One plate is dark blue over here on the left, and on the right, this plate is light blue. So they're moving apart from each other. So several fracture zones are shown at places where parts of the same tectonic plate are moving in the same direction, but at different speeds. So this dark blue one is all moving this way, and you can look at the white arrows and see how they're moving at different speeds. And then same on the left. So the study of the location of fracture zones, the location of these fracture zones, has provided evidence to support the theory of plate tectonics because, all right, now look at your answer choices and see what you think. All right, so fracture zones are located near the mid-ocean ridges where new oceanic crust is being produced. So they are caused by different parts of one tectonic plate moving away from a mid-ocean ridge at different rates, okay? So these fracture zones are located at places that were once active underwater faults. So places where 2 different tectonic plates slid past each other in opposite directions. So we are going to go with A. Number 4, the symbols found on this map below indicate where fossils have been found in the same layer of sediment. So you can see these symbols. Each symbol indicates a different type of fossil. So you can see that these are the same as these over here. Then you have these circle symbols that would be the same, and these symbols that are the same. So, what do the locations of the fossils suggest? Okay, so look at your answer choices and see what you think. So the Earth can be separated into physical layers based on differing responses to force. So the rigid outermost layer of the Earth is known as the lithosphere. Okay, the outermost layer is the lithosphere. So this layer is divided into plates that move a few centimeters each year as they float on top of a softer solid layer known as the asthenosphere. So, plate tectonics is a theory that describes the movement of these lithospheric plates. So, according to this theory, the continents shown here were once connected to each other. So they were all part of this single continent known as Pangaea. So the fossil record is a source of evidence for this theory. So we're going to go with D. All right, number 5, last one. The diagram below shows the location of an ocean trench where oceanic crust is being subducted beneath continental crust. Okay, so you can see the oceanic crust and the continental crust. Judging from the diagram, where are most ocean trenches located? Where are most ocean trenches located? So pause it and see what you think. All right, so ocean trenches are long, narrow, groove-like features on the ocean floor which can form at the boundary between two lithospheric plates. Okay, you can see a lithospheric plate and a lithospheric plate, and then the trench is formed at that boundary between the two plates. So we're going to go with D. All right, folks. So after you have mastered all of the dynamic Earth topics under Earth and space science, you should be able to create a project or a presentation, an experiment, a model, something to explain all of this to your teacher and let them know that you know what you're talking about.